This is a easy tutorial on how to make an ice boat ramp to launch yourself over a chasm or pit or anything you need to launch yourself over. Because on Bedrock Edition you can't climb up blocks, maybe Java Edition too. Yeah, it's pretty easy. Uh, the materials that you need, these ones right here, except the structure block, obviously you don't need that. But yeah, I'm going to show you guys how to make it to kind of mark the area that you want to boost, and also you want it to be an odd number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I want it to be an odd number, and you can just block off these. Also, all the obsidian, you want it to be 2 blocks tall. Because if it's only 1 block tall, then you kind of just go over the obsidian when the pistons launch you. So it's just easier if it's 2 blocks tall. Alright, and then it kind of helps to mine out these blocks. It also helps to get some blue ice, because that kind of increases your speed. Right, very chaotic. In blue ice, you can kind of get all the way back for sure, because if you're not going fast enough, it won't really boost you much. But now it's time for the activation method. What I like to use most is tripwire hooks and stuff, because they just they can detect while you're in a boat, which most things honestly kind of can't. So I don't know, there's ice block or whatever. It doesn't really matter what block you use for these. Just place downstream. Then you're gonna want to get. Oh, I don't have redstone torch either. Do not have any of the items I need. I'm gonna put only one side, so it doesn't matter what side, but only put a redstone torch on one of these sides. So now, see here, and whenever you use the tripwire hook, it deactivates the redstone torch. So you want to just be like a chain of them. So now, if you look up at the top one, it's activated, unactivated, activated, reverses. Then you're gonna just go up a whole bunch. I believe it's 5, but I mean you can kind of experiment. Depends on how fast and stuff you're going. There's also a lot of things in this that are based on preference. At the top, you want to make sure that the top one, without anything touching the tripwire hook, that the top one is deactivated. Very important thing to do to make sure you do. Okay. You can connect the first deactivated one or any of the deactivated ones. It doesn't really matter. You're just gonna have that build down here to this with some sort of redstone connection. Make sure it's gonna flow down. This is what's gonna boost you up the first time to get you up to where the other pistons are. And you're just gonna get this, and then so you want to have one piston here. Keep going all the way across, and have another piston here. You can do one in the middle, I guess, but you don't really. I mean, it doesn't really matter. And you also want to make sure that there's no blocks that the pistons can touch, or pistons and slime blocks can touch. So make sure that all of this area is cleared. But now what you want to do, get some slime blocks put down. But you want to have like a pattern, I guess, and they can't directly make contact with each other. So something like this is good. And then all the blocks where the slime blocks are touching, oops, broke that. All the areas where the slime blocks are touching the ground and stuff, you break those, but you can leave these ones. I recommend doing that actually. I'm just gonna break these off. I'm gonna do that. So also, it's important that I have some repeaters here because you kind of want to make sure that the signal is kind of very strong. Because if one piston doesn't go up, the entire thing's kind of ruined. So you want to make sure that they all go up at the same time. You don't need that. Now, step on this. Whole thing goes up. Also, it also helps if you have like a 2-tick delay. So just do 1 for this one. You can do 2 or 3 if you want. Really, it doesn't matter much. And just gotta make sure you get some slime blocks on these. And now you want to have like as much area as possible going. So you don't really need them off to the side, like on the obsidian, but you want them like here. And each piston, I believe, can push 12 blocks. So you can kind of make a sort of thing. And just like the other thing, the bottom part, they cannot touch directly, but they can be pretty close to it. And I'm actually going to move this piston over one. And I'm just going to make sure that these are all set up. And then if you get something like this, just kind of break one. Make it, because you don't want them on a line, but they can be like diagonal and stuff. There's a couple things like this. Go a bit further this way. And really, that's pretty much good. And up here, it is very important up here that you actually have a delay. So use just a redstone repeater and something to what is going on? Do one more higher than that. There you go. And very important that you have a redstone repeater. I believe 3 is good, but again, kind of preference. But you have a pretty short amount of time to actually kind of have the pistons push, because if the player is too, like, if they're falling down, the pistons don't really work. So you want it like right as they are at the peak, like, height. And you can kind of just do a repeater somewhere before the first piston. All these pistons have to be aligned properly though. They're timed properly, I guess. And boom, like that. And this is what usually takes some trial and error, because it depends on how fast you're going on that part of the track. See, this time I need it earlier or later. So it's pretty easy though. You just kind of come up here and add another tick, maybe 1 or 2 ticks, and then just kind of go down and start driving away. Boost yourself and see, boom, now you're going. So that's something to take note of. And you can kind of bounce back onto a track and keep riding. And really, there's no limit to how many of these you have. I will say though, on lower end devices like, I don't know, Pocket Edition players, Redstone is kind of janky, so it might not work 100% of the time. But as long as you kind of keep this general idea, again, it's pretty easy to just kind of customize and personalize for your preferences and what part of the track you're on. But as long as you just kind of make something similar to this, it should work great. Kind of bonus part of the video, if you give yourself a command block, you can make tracks very easily. This is what I use for all of my minigame servers. You also want to make sure this is like pretty high up, because if it isn't, it's just going to totally destroy the command block. But you want this to be repeat and always active, and you want to be like on the floor when you do this. Better if you're in a boat. And make sure if you copy this exact command for Bedrock Edition, I don't know about Java Edition players, but slash, I guess you didn't have to do slash in the command block. Execute at, not as, at E, or I guess at A if you're only, like, if you're the only person playing on the server at the same time. But if it's a multiplayer server and there's like other people on, then just do your name. Don't do DDB1201. Just do your name. Do that and just run fill tilde. It doesn't really matter how big of the dimensions you want to do, but I just do 5 right here. Again, you want to make sure it's -1. You don't want to do it flat. You want to make sure it's -1. So 5. Oh, see, gotta do -5 there. Now you can ride around, and everywhere that you ride, it's totally up to you to make the tracks. You can kind of just ride, like, drift around, and the ice follows you. I will say you have to have someone loading the command block. If the chunks get unloaded, so does the command. So it'll stop working, but it'll come back eventually. And this is how I made my tracks. I just got an alt account on, and then you kind of just do stuff like that, and make them connect, and make them do loops and stuff. And since I am on, again, single player, you can just, oh, drove past it there. You can either just turn it off by knees redstone, or you can just break it, or you can put a lever there and have it redstone activated. That works too. But now you got a little, play it. I'll drift around on this. Got a little track to ride around on. It's way easier than manually placing the blocks, I will say. Kind of just ride around. Yeah, you can just drift around, and I have the thing saved on, but you can put these ramps on just an area where it's like straight, and make sure that it's angled right for the track, and then it'll boost you, and you can go shortcuts, make them mandatory. Really is up to you. But iceboating is a pretty fun mini game, and I'd recommend for you guys to mess around with these ramps and the command block. Thanks for watching. See you guys later.